Alrighty, we are off to Dave Ramsey's baby step number 5. I still don't understand why these are baby steps. After all, you're a full-grown adult person. I don't know why you'd be taking a baby step. But also, these are some pretty big things to accomplish in your financial plan. But baby step number 5 is all about those kiddos, if you've got some. If you don't have any, you don't have to worry about this one. Unless you're one of those really cool aunts or uncles and you decide you're going to help those nieces or nephews. I have to tell you, Dave did a pretty good job on his website for some of the basic stuff about planning for college. Good job, Dave. I like it. So in today's video, I want to focus in on some of those things outside the box. Some of those things for college planning for your kiddos or other littles you love, or maybe even yourself, because some of this can be used for you too. So let's get to it. Point number 1, I think it's very, 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 very important that you get your financial house in order before you start saving for the littles. In fact, every dollar you save for yourself with your name on it can be money that you end up giving to the littles. You don't have to start out in an account with their name on it to eventually earmark it for college. Very important. We want to make sure that we are financially secure before we start giving too much away. Point number 2, those littles might not go to college. Now, Dave's page has a lot of good information about specific accounts for college funding. Things like an educational savings account, a Section 529. There's other information you can research out there. My main business, educational business, has an online course specific to college funding. If you might be interested in taking a peek at that, I could get you access for free if you put a nice note in the comments below. Then you can learn a little bit more about not only those savings accounts, but some of the tax credits that are available. But what we really want to talk about is, what if those littles don't go to college? This is where something called an UGMA or an UTMA come in handy. An UGMA is a Uniform Gifts to Minor Act, and an UTMA is a Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. This means you're essentially taking money and gifting it, giving it, transferring it to the ownership of the minor. When this minor becomes of age, the age of majority, and this can vary by state, it's usually somewhere between 18 and 21, it's their money to do what they want with it. Now, this is what I decided to do for my kids. Couple of reasons. One of them's this. By gifting it to them, it reduces the tax rates. My kids are in a lower tax bracket than I am because they really don't have the same amount of income. So it reduces the taxes. It also was then available to them if they didn't go to college. I had decided that the monies in the account could be either used for higher education or to buy a home. And how many young people today would like to have that extra money set aside if they didn't go to college for a home, right? If I have it in one of those educational accounts specific to college, that doesn't become an option. And that's why I did it this way. Now, My kids, again, can have access to it when they're the age of majority, when they're adults. And that's a risk. Maybe my kids wouldn't use it for the house or for the college. But this is the other thing. They only get that access to that account when I tell them they can have it. The information comes to me. And they wouldn't necessarily know at 18 or 21 that they might be able to use that account for anything that they want unless I tell them. I'm very fortunate. My kids were very responsible with money, and so it didn't become a problem. But here's another thought for you. Maybe this is point number 3. I didn't save all the money for their college. Frankly, being a single mom, it was a little tough to fund for everything, especially considering that their dad didn't really help financially. So I didn't fund for their whole college, but you know, I don't know if I would have if I could have. My kids had to think about how much they were going to spend on tuition and if it was worthwhile. And when their grades were slipping, if they were about to fail a class, how they were going to still have to pay for that, whether they passed or not. It made them responsible for all of the choices that they were making and got them to think about what was really important to them in that moment. I wouldn't have changed much about it. I do wish I could have set aside a little more. For each of my kids, the amount that I had set aside for them was probably only about 1/3 of their undergraduate studies. I would have liked to have a little bit more set aside for them. But now that they're a little bit older, I try to do a few other things for them. But that does bring me to the next point. Do what you can for them. Don't stress out about this. Do as much as you can, and the rest will work out. I know from my kids, we went through some tough financial times at different points, and in the end, they learned valuable lessons about budgeting money, saving, and that money isn't the most important thing. Which brings me to the next point, which I think is number 5. Kind of lost count. I guess there's a lot of things that weren't on Dave's page. Even though you did a good job, Dave. He did. You did, Dave. You really did. So, here's number 5. You don't just have to do an UGMA or an UTMA. When your kids are older, you could put money into a Roth IRA for them. Depending on how much your kids earn in a given year, you can put that amount into a Roth IRA for them. If the current contribution amount into an IRA is, say, $7,000, but your kids only earned $5,000 that year, working a summer job or part-time job, then you can put in the 5. The money doesn't have to come from them. It can come from you, provided they have the earned income to justify the contribution to the Roth IRA. The other thing that's important to note with a Roth IRA is the contributions are after-tax dollars. But because your kids, or the littles you care about, potentially have lower income, their tax rates would be lower and their personal exemption might exempt them from having to pay the tax anyway. Roth IRAs have penalty-free withdrawal options for college expenses, so that's a bonus, and any of the amounts of contribution can be withdrawn anytime, tax and penalty-free. Now, it might not be the best route for college expenses to get a lot of free pennies in there, the earnings that you get, if these littles don't start working until 15 or 16. However, if you're self-employed, you could hire on your kids at earlier ages to do some other things around the office. This allows you to start to contribute to this Roth IRA a little earlier. There is one final thing that I want to share with you, and if I'm keeping count right, I believe this is number 6. This one isn't a great one. This isn't a happy point. It turns out that Trump has decided to mess with some of the things that middle America uses to help pay for college for their kids, and what those kids would use to pay for college. Now, all of this is just kind of in the works. It's either part of the fiscal plan for the Republicans this year, or he tried to sign an executive order to repeal a law which is not legal. Trump decided to do a lot of that. And since it's really only about a week after, as I'm recording this, that he has been in office, I don't know what of these things that he's trying to repeal will actually be repealed or not. I'm kind of pissed about it. You see, there's a lot of people in America, and I'm not one of them, who believed him when he said that he was going to help us afford more things, that he actually cared. But so far, a week in, all that Trump has done is mess with a lot of things that protect the American people and shipped some immigrants off. In fact, eggs are actually a lot more expensive today than when Biden was in office. And Trump has told the people who usually let us know what's going on, like with the bird flu, to not tell us things. I don't think this is very helpful. Now, you might have voted for him. And I know that Dave Ramsey, yes, endorsed him. If you, like me, think it's important to have tax credits available to help pay for college, that we actually might want Pell Grants and financial aid still to help people be educated and to make sure our American population keeps up with the rest of the world, I encourage you to contact the people who represent you. I've put a link for you to find that down below. And what I've started doing is letting the Republicans in the House and Senate know what I actually think about this and what I think they should be voting for and not. I haven't yet sent any communication to Trump because I don't think he really listens to us and I don't think he cares. But I'm hoping that some of the people with R behind their name have a conscience and will do the right thing for the American people. And I'm also hoping the people with a D behind their name continue to fight and advocate for fairness in our system. I really don't want rich people to just get a great big tax benefit and have the rest of us have to pay for it. That doesn't seem fair to me. So that's the 6 points that are not available on Dave's page, which I've also linked below. What I'd like you to do is subscribe to this channel because I'm going to have a lot of good information for you. I'd also like for you to like this video so other people get to see it. And if you've got any comments or questions for me, please note them below. The other thing is I've got another video right there which talks about whether you should pay off your mortgage or not, because Dave says you should, and that really isn't the best plan. Click right there to watch it.